Captain's Log, Episode 21. This week's episode of the Beer Vengers podcast is sponsored by Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. The back patio is still open whenever possible, but if it's still too cold for you, try one of their many items available for to-go or delivery, including their at-home cheese plates. Enjoy the eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, home bar to yours truly, Captain Porter Brown Stout. Today our guest is another former beer venger to be. Coming from the West Coast, it's Cicerone, home brewer, and overall beer enthusiast, Brew Guy Phil. The episode you're about to hear suffered from a few technical difficulties during production. We were able to fix most of them, but unfortunately it still sounds like I'm pronouncing my Captain Cellar selection as coming from the state of Nevada, when of course it's pronounced Nevada. Despite our diligent tweakings, this technical glitch remained stubbornly unfixable. Also, in discussing Curtain Up Beer, we were unable to ascertain during recording whether any of their 56 participating breweries came from the West Coast. In fact, there are 2 breweries from Colorado, Breckenridge and Broken Compass, and Pariah from San Diego, California. Here's hoping they're just the tip of the iceberg. Remember to like, star, and subscribe us whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 21, Brew Guy in Town, or Get Your Fill.
Oh, we're the beer vengers, beer vengers, beer vengers.
We're the Beer Vengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in Manhattan Town, New York City, I am the pale male Hophead Huck.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the county of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder!
And we are
The
Beer
Vengers! Oh, you pushed it that time, Huck. You really pushed that one
I
through.
tried to get it through.
Yeah, that
I
was
liked it.
an extra little burst of energy there. I think that was very confident. Welcome to the show, everyone. Lovely to have all of you, our beer vengers, out there in whatever of the dozen or so states it looks like you're coming from. I think we even picked up someone last week from Sweden and another one from the UK. So
Wow.
if you're still listening, welcome. We've got a great show coming up. We've got lots of great pours. Probably another trip to my cellar because I just love walking down there every time. But before we get to any of that or to the pours, I want to introduce a very special guest we have today. He is a Cicerone. He's been homebrewing for over a decade, he told me. And we're really excited to have Brew Guy Phil with us here today.
Yeah, Phil, all right.
What's up, everybody?
Brew
Thanks for
Guy
having
Phil,
me.
a.k.a. the Philsbury Doughboy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's an honor.
Great. It's an honor to have you here.
Indeed.
So yeah, so we've got all that stuff coming, but the show hasn't really started until we get to the pours, right?
Yeah, I'm thirsty.
I'm a little thirsty too, yeah.
Very
thirsty.
thirsty.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and, here, I got my beer ready to go.
Wait, whoa.
We've all got our beers, Huck. But
I know, Huck, but and I'm really thirsty. Like, I'm really, really thirsty, but, Brew Guy Phil is here.
That's true.
I know, it's kind of a big deal. I think I really think we should let him go first.
Got to have some respect. All right, yeah,
Exactly.
you make a good point.
None of us would really. We'd all just still be rolling around in the dirt without the basic etiquette the beer wonder teaches us. Yeah, obviously, yes, Brew Guy Phil should go first.
Phil, what do you got today?
So I got this here monkish can. It's called In My Head. I think that's what is a Smashing Pumpkins reference. Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, this is Galaxy, Mosaic, and Reiku. 10.4% triple IPA. Because it's triple IPA season. Why not?
It is.
It really
very
is.
much so. Oh my gosh, good crack there. Oh, and that is golden grapefruit juice right there.
Oh, it really is.
That, oh my gosh,
Man.
Tasty and
Very-
sweet.
super high alcohol on that one, almost no head. Oh, I bet the aroma is gorgeous.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it
boy.
looks like
Yeah.
grapefruit and mango juice. Yeah.
Oh,
Cheers.
Wow. Wait. Yeah. Cheers, indeed.
can't wait
Well,
for that one.
I knew we were going to have Brew Guy Phil on today, so I wanted to make sure that I got something that he would want me to send him. So this is we're going to our friends at Trillium Brewing. This is
Oh wow!
the
Very nice.
Almond Crunch Stout.
Very
And
Oh.
it's 9%, and I've been holding on to this one since October. I checked; it's only got adjuncts that has almonds and vanilla, so it's a pretty clean as far as having too many adjuncts. Let's take a look.
Definitely.
Ooh, that's
you-
thick.
You can pour that right in.
it goes
Very
straight in there, but nice and dark. And what did we get a percentage on this one?
9.
Oh, 9. Okay, so it's
That's
a
good
bold
and
one
thick.
there.
Nice mouthfeel for sure.
Oh, I hope so. I'm looking forward
Gorgeous.
to it.
Look
There
at
you go.
that. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Well, I'm breaking the trend here a little bit.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I know. This is also, it's not always one that you'd expect from me. However, it is a
Sponsored pour.
Yes.
Very good.
from our dear friends at Astoria Beer and Cheese, Ditmars. Always delighted to have them. So I'm doing one from Transmitter Brewing, picking up where Globe Hopper left off last week, although this one is the PH2.
Mm-hmm.
This is officially declared by them a sour ale. Made with passion fruit, but most of their stuff is sort of farmhousey. So it's they're using both lactobacillus and they're using their saison yeast in this one. Double fermentation, of course, with passion fruit in that second half. So I'm interested to see how this is going to turn out.
Nice crack.
I know. I'm excited about this guy. Okay.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got that golden straw color.
Yeah.
Big
Looks,
carbonation.
Yeah, it's like pouring like a West Coast.
Mhm.
But then I'm seeing that bit of pink in there, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. You can really see the passion. I think the passion fruit definitely is going to come through in a nice way. Even without bringing it up to my nose, I'm actually already smelling the
You
passion
gotta
fruit.
get ready. Yeah.
So it's
Very
it's a
good.
bold one. I'm very excited.
Oh, wow. 3 for 3 here, Captain.
Excellent. Well, mine is also a
Sponsored pour.
Oh, a double
another
shot.
sponsored pour. This is let me see what I have here. This is one where the second time we've had this brewery. We've talked to them about for Wild East. Wild East, the one that they sort of started, very new brewery to Brooklyn, but they finally opened their tap room and they are delivering if you live close enough to them, I think. So I don't know if Beer Wonder if you can get them delivered.
I can also. They are within walking distance ish, like a
There you
bold
go.
walk of my undisclosed location. So I
They
have been
are-
by a few times to check
They're
in.
also right in that brewery square, as it were. There's like 5 breweries within a half
Yes.
mile of each other. It's really
Cannot wait to
Something
crawl
else.
that once we.
Oh,
once we're actually
man.
doing
very soon.
that. Mhm.
But this is a stout. It is their standard deviation.
Oh yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That's a
It's
great
nice.
name. I love it.
I do too, because it's kind of a standard stout, but it's pleasantly deviant. So here we are. It's just
Oh, I love the sound of this one pouring. It
Oh,
looks like it's pouring nice and quick, which is good. What did you say the percentage on this one was? Did we catch
it's
that?
a 6%er, so it's not an
6%.
imperial stout.
Okay, so
it's a stout.
yeah, it's a good drinking stout.
You did tell us you needed to take it easy tonight. Yeah.
With my first pour, that tells us we have something coming up.
Well, yeah,
Very
we
good.
never quite know what's going to come from the cellar, so you might want to turn that can around, Captain, so we can see
Yeah,
the
yeah, there we go.
the art on there. Or
Here we go. Back to the name.
Sorry, we can edit this out. There we go.
yeah, we'll cut that out later. That goes in
Oh,
post.
yes.
That's a great
Which
picture.
we always say we
Excellent.
do, and we never do. There
Anyway,
we go.
cheers,
All
gentlemen.
right. Cheers.
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 That's really nice.
I love that moment in the show where it just gets quiet for a second.
Yeah.
Look at our
Ah,
system.
and then the accent comes in the perfect timing. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to need a little more time to examine this. If anybody else wants to talk about there, because I know I usually jump in pretty aggressively, as I'm doing now, because I don't want.
Like one does. I mean, this one has got a wild amount of pucker on it. I mean, it's got the lactobacillus is really coming through intensely. Also, so you get that like intense sour pucker, but the passion fruit also has its own kind of tartness to it that's really kind of nice and refreshing. It's very thin. It's very watery, so it's going to go down way too easy. And I think I forgot to say mine, but mine is 5.9%. I'm
so as your neighbors over there in Massachusetts would say, it's wicked tot.
It's wicked tot. Yes, in wicked tot, exactly. But yeah, I could see this being. I mean, for the dead of winter, this is not really the beer you'd necessarily be drinking to warm you up, winter warmer style. But this is fantastic, wildly refreshing, and ready to go. Also, I just noticed as I picked it up, this is a can conditioned beer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're pretty ingenuitive over there. Is that a word?
So in other words, don't ship them. They'll explode.
Yes, basically, the world could, and that's probably why the crack was so intense, because I was like, this is more than I would expect from them. But they do all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, they call themselves the urban farmhouse brewery, and so they certainly like to play. And I do know that in addition to the cans that they sell these in, you can get this one specifically in bottles, which I imagine is probably.
It's funny that they're well, you said urban farmhouse, yeah, because the areas that they've been in, both in Brooklyn and previously in Queens, have been really industrial areas.
Oh, highly,
like where you don't even see trees.
Yeah, actually, they have a lovely outdoor seating area, which when we were doing that kind of thing here in Gotham, you are on the inside of the Brooklyn Navy Yards. And so you're literally sitting on a little outskirt in a parking lot where there are like 5 tall buildings. And if you look really closely, you can see the ferry that goes in the East River. Not my first choice for an outdoor seating area, but honestly, I was there a little bit this summer, and it was
a lot of improvisation in the past year as far as seating areas go. Yeah,
it seems to me that the breweries that are in those industrial areas, and there's a lot of them, because the premise has always been just to be where they can make the beer. And people will come there anyway, but it's mostly just to make the beer, and then they've become a destination as a result.
Yeah,
and you see a lot. Most of those still seem to be in business, and yet McKellar's location at Citi Field closed.
Yeah,
because probably one of the reasons they opened at all these industrial areas where they could probably get better rent than they would in
afford it.
Sort of a trendy touristy place.
And I know there also are some, at least in New York City, there are some regulations around production. And if you're in a production area, but you're, in Park Slope with all the pretty brownstones in Brooklyn, let's say, they're not going to let you really set up shop there.
I know the location for Monkish in LA is along a similar track like you would. It's just all industrial park.
Yeah, I was there Friday when I drove down. I'm actually visiting San Diego right now. I'm on my road trip from Sacramento. And I was fortunate enough to place an order on the road and pick up some Monkish on the way down. And it's hidden, and if you get there in the afternoon, you're dealing with traffic, and but it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
Oh yeah, and it's a cool location to have. Yeah,
I would like to hear more about your beer as well as Monkish, because I guess Huck, you've been there. I think I've seen probably you and other people because post stuff about it online, but that's not a brewery we get here. So
that one's completely new to me.
I would equate them to say that they're kind of like the other half of LA.
Yeah. As far as I remember, Monkish, they opened up with some kind of slogan: no hazy IPAs or no IPAs, and they just wanted to brew straight Belgian style beers. And at some point they did a collab. I think it was with Other Half and Trillium. I could be wrong, maybe someone else. And they blew up on the hazy scene for the West Coast, and it's been pretty phenomenal ever since. So they did something right.
Yeah, I know that's in the name, right? The Monkish, they want it to be Belgian. They still make Belgians.
They do.
But they can these IPAs, and out the door they go right away.
Right. That's where the hype is.
And how's the one you're having?
Yeah, tell us about it.
It doesn't drink like a triple IPA. Honestly, it drinks like it's 7%, which is dangerous because this thing's 9.5%. It's juicy.
And that color.
Loads of hops. Yeah, I love this color. I wish I could reproduce it in my home brews. I get close every now and then, but man, it's
I mean, it really, truly, when you think, like, it does look like grapefruit juice that someone put, like, powder in. I don't know. Like, I can't, the hop nose on that one must be just truly insane. Just from
Yeah,
the look of it.
yeah. I mean, you guys are really lucky out there with Other Half, Equilibrium, Finback. There's some great haze on the East Coast. Trillium, Treehouse. I wish I could get some of those more regularly, but you know,
But Huck
budget.
will mail them to me.
Yeah, trading and budget. I've pretty much nailed down my trading to just stouts. I don't know. I
like
got to pick and
bottles.
choose. Yeah,
Yeah.
big bottles, barrel aged.
Yeah, because I remember when we first met, that was one of the first questions you asked me. Do you do beer mail?
Yeah.
And I still stick to it. I still don't do it. I have a lot of anxiety, and going to the post office was one of my triggers for sure.
Right. Yeah, that was cool meeting you out in Seattle, getting some of those beers, Fremont, and forget what other ones.
Dark Star. I think I saw you had a version of Dark Star recently from Fremont.
Yeah, barrel aged Dark Star, such a good beer.
Yeah, so the West Coast is definitely happening when it comes to the beer scene. Now, do you get to Cellar Maker too much in San Francisco? Because I haven't seen those on your page at all.
Oh man,
is there a store there?
Yeah, living in the Bay Area, getting out to San Francisco is such a chore.
Yeah,
you have to either BART in and spend all the money, or like spend time in traffic and pay the toll to get across the bridge. I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky because there's only the one bridge into the city. Whereas I think for you guys in New York, there's a shit ton.
There are, but yeah, it's a similar thing. If we're going to drive in New York, that's like, it can be very stressful.
Yeah, but I hate going to San Francisco, even though it only takes like 45 minutes, an hour. It's such a chore to get in there. But yeah, so they're shipping now, fortunately. And I actually got a Cellar Maker gift card from my in-laws for Christmas. So I do have to place an order here soon.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That must be so hard for you.
They're great.
They're really good. Last Christmas, 2019, of course. I got to try a few beers there, and they make good lagers. That's what I've been doing lately, is living the lager life. So I was really pleased with their lager selection. And again, it's the same thing. You don't see them as cans as much. They're canning the IPAs and getting them out there because that's what sells.
Right.
So Huck, how is yours? Because that looked beautiful.
It's very smoothly drinkable. It's got a nice sticky. It's like stick your lips together with the sweetness. And it's named for the candy bar. And I was thinking when I was drinking it, I was first put in the mind of like almost communion wine for some reason. And then maybe that made me think, okay, so maybe I had a connection with going to church and having little almond candies. Maybe that's like a sense memory thing going on.
Dude, if they handed out almond candies instead of communion wafers, I'd be in church a heck of a lot more often, that's for sure.
Cheers to that.
Am I crazy in thinking we may have had that beer on the show before?
No, we had. I meant to talk to you about that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
No, I just couldn't read it. I couldn't read it for some reason on my phone. But we had Nutpool was on.
Yeah.
And he had the it was almond something crunch.
Okay.
So this is just almond crunch. His was almond.
I think there was a vanilla in there or something along those lines. Okay. Yeah. We'll have to replay
the different batch anyway. This was from October, and that one was from July or something.
Yeah, that looks like a Halloween release that they would do for Halloween, king size something.
Yeah.
I love those themes when they do Halloween beers.
Well, yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention it was king size because I think they did in the past did just the almond crunch, and you can see on the can it has all the little pieces where the other pieces of candy go. So it's like a candy box.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And my follow-up question to that would be, so when you bought that in October, did you drink any of it then?
No, because I didn't buy them. I traded with my brother-in-law. IP. That means in person.
Okay.
In case Phil thought I was mailing with someone else.
No. You're good.
My brother-in-law, I told you this, they got my sister and my brother-in-law not married to each other. They were getting deliveries of Trillium and down to Cape Cod. So when I go to the Cape, I was bringing stuff up from New York, other half. And
there you go.
And so my brother-in-law's a real hazehead. He loves the Trillium and Treehouse. Although he went on a rant about other half wasn't as good anymore. But I see that all the time. You ever join these Facebook groups? These other half Facebook groups are hilarious because they all worship other half, and all the thread is just complaining about how terrible it is. It's really funny. Oh,
See,
no,
I've
man,
managed to
they've
stay
gone
off
off.
Facebook.
No, man, that's a drain pour, man. Like,
Oh man,
come on.
no, I've managed to stay off of Facebook. I can't get too deep into that.
I
Good
hear
on
that.
you. Good on you.
I'm doing TikTok now, although I might be done. I might be done with that soon.
The aging
Oh.
process seemed to have worked well with this beer, though.
Is this a
Because
question
you've
for
had-
me?
Oh yeah, I was asking just
Okay.
because you've had the beer since October. It's aged well.
Oh yes. I usually go for 7 months, but we cut it. We went for however many it is now.
Very
I didn't
good.
do the math yet. I do have another one. That Fox Farm Coffee Stout is still in there. Looking to open that up in May.
Ooh.
What do you think about canned stouts and aging them, brew guy?
Well, so there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think I've tasted a bad canned stout from what I'm drinking. There's one out in Sacramento, New Glory Brewing Company did one, Infinite Void, and I think it was like Snake Venom or something. Canned, barrel aged imperial stouts, like upwards of 12%. Really good. Love New Glory Brewing. Shout out, I guess. I don't know if I'm
New
allowed to do
Glory. I don't think I'm familiar with New Glory.
I don't know them. That's
Where are they?
that. Sacramento. They're another Sacramento brewery.
Oh, okay.
Sacramento's got a good lineup. There's some pretty solid breweries out there, even in the outskirts. I'm a big Moxa fan. Moxa Stouts. They're coming out with some really nice barley wines this weekend. I wish I was there.
Oh, I thought Moxa was down south. I didn't understand.
Nah, they're Sacramento.
Oh.
Field work, of course.
Right.
But that's like more Bay Area. They kind of spread out like Modern Times is doing.
Oh yeah, they have like 3 tap rooms, right?
A lot. Yeah, they have like maybe even 5 tap rooms.
Wow.
Yeah. Very successful. Burning Barrel, if you like the fanboy sour, like half beer, half fruit juice kind of thing.
cheers.
Yeah. That one looks a little restrained. That's more in the
It
traditional
is very.
style.
This is very restrained. Yes.
Yeah.
The big joke is I don't actually like sours usually, so I'm training myself to do it this year. So, but
Yeah.
yes.
I'm
Well,
a
I
bit
guess-
of a
Oh, no, go ahead. You're a bit of a.
I'm a bit of a stickler for some beer styles, and when I get into these overly fruited beers, all these lacto bombs with half fruit puree, I just like I don't know, gives me indigestion.
Yeah,
Can't have that.
I have trouble myself, and I actually have trouble with the hazies now. But I'm not. You're not. You're a young man, Phil. You're not as old as the old pale male.
Oh man, one of these days.
But yeah,
Enjoy it while you
speaking of
can.
similar. We're talking about it with sort of like a change in character. This is the standard deviation is a bit of a deviation for me, even though I'm all about the stouts. It was interesting because Phil, you and I were talking before about adjuncts and how they've gotten sort of out of control. Because I actually do very much enjoy the ones with the adjuncts, but I did have a realization recently that almost every one I have is with an adjunct, and our palates adjust, and then we start to crave what we're not always getting. And I think right now my feeling is I think I would rather have like maybe a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio of stouts to adjuncts, whereas it's huge more often than not it's the other direction,
Right.
where we're having like 2/3 to 3/4 adjuncts, and every once in a while we get just a regular stout. And this is by calling this a regular stout, I don't even mean to take it down a peg. This is a
No,
really good
not at all.
It's a really good classic version, but it also tastes unique. I don't think especially considering how young this brewery is, I don't know if it's necessarily completely the same. But the last time I had a stout from a really brand new brewery that like hit me the way this one was when I had the Gun Hill Void of Light.
Oh wow!
This is a lower ABV. It's not imperial, but it's just like it's one of these just really great. It really tastes the chicory in it, which I like a lot. And it's just a really good. It's like it's the sort of thing I would give to someone who thinks they like Guinness. Who does like Guinness, who thinks that like, Guinness is a stout. It's like, okay, Guinness is a good basic stout. This one has all of that and improves on it. This is better. It's got the sort of the chicory, a little bit of a nuttiness to it. It's really, really good.
Wow, comparing it to Void of Light, I got to tell you, Phil, that's big praise from the captain.
That
It
really
is.
is.
I know.
We're gonna have to send some cans around. But yeah, exactly. Kind of what I was
Hey,
saying.
these guys might
is,
be mailers. I don't know.
right?
I've never mailed a beer. I wouldn't know how to go about it, but it sounds.
Get a couple more of these in me and we can talk. So
But yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Is like as a home brewer, transitioning a little bit. I've brewed a few stouts and I taste them and they're like, ooh, this is not good. Let me dump some coconut in and let me dump some vanilla bean in, give it 2 weeks. And so that's what I'm starting to realize about breweries. I've been laid off with COVID, so my budget's a little shorter. And so I don't want to spend all these money on certain beers. So I got to really pick and choose what I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like if you can brew a good base stout and showcase your skills as a brewer, I'm all for that. I love it because it shows that you can brew a solid beer. But when you're dumping cereal in it and Hershey's syrup and 20 pounds of vanilla beans right off the bat, and I don't know you can brew a good stout that's a base stout, I kind of am going to be scrutinizing that a little bit. And I'm just like, well, anyone can pour brownies into their beer and make it taste good. So if I'm going to be, I don't know.
Well, like you say, well, some of these big, not big, but these brewers that are good at it, like you said, like we had the recently the Marshall's Crest, not from Horace, but it was other half. You know, have you heard about the Freaky Friday? Where they brew each other's beer. They've been doing that this year, and they brewed the Marshall's Crest. And it had marshmallows, vanilla, another kind of nut, I think, and it was amazing. Like,
Horace does some good shit. They're really good beers.
Like, wow.
Yeah, the only one I've had was the one that Huck that you brought to one of our. What did you call it? IRL or when we're actually in the
IRL is in real life when you trade IP in person.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
So just hanging out,
so
and
little distinctions.
All right, because we still were in person.
We were in person,
and we were trading
IP
beers,
IRL.
And actually, we were all bringing beers and we were sharing them and trading them. So even though we weren't doing closed cans,
we did trade.
It's kind of a beer trade situation.
We did trade
because that's the only time I've had a Horace was the one that you brought that time, and I've been craving more of them ever since.
Oh yeah,
so
well, you got to talk to Phil.
Yeah.
Be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Holy Mountain is a great brewery. The Midnight Still, they're another Seattle brewery.
Well, we went there together.
Yeah, we did. I was going to say, and they do exceptional no adjuncts, pure barrel. I guess you could consider barrel an adjunct. But yeah, it's like if you can craft something like that, and Mox has been doing their Singularity series where it's just single barrel, no adjuncts, and it really something else, something different.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really great because we've had a few regional beer vengers so far. We've had Ohio, we've had Philly, we've had Massachusetts, but you are our first. You're our first regional from the West Coast, so it's been great getting the story of the West Coast beers. But I think we want to make things a little more personal now and move just from the story of the West Coast beers, and maybe get to one of the to hear about your.
Origin story.
That's right. I think it's time for time to get Brew Guy Phil's. That's the first time we listeners you've heard that already, but this is the first time we've all heard it together during one of the shows. Last time we did it in post, but we're actually hearing it, so that's why. That's why we're acting surprised.
That was glorious. That was truly magical.
Yeah, it's time for Brew Guy Phil's origin story. So Phil, when did you? What's your earliest memory of when you first encountered beer as a fan, or maybe if you didn't like it the first time, or how was your journey there?
I actually was not drinking until a few months before my 21st birthday. I hear a lot of my friends like, I was drinking when I was 14. I was drinking when I was 16. I'm like, nope. I was like a goody two shoes Catholic boy, raised proper, and did not start drinking until like 3 months before I turned 21, 4 months or something like that. And even then, like, I wasn't doing too much with the beer. It was mostly liquor. And living in San Diego, I think I turned 21 around 2009. So Stone was a big brewery. Green Flash was a big brewery, and Ballast Point was a big brewery. And I remember one of my birthdays, we went brewery hopping with all my friends. I smashed a pint on the floor at Green Flash on accident. But yeah, I was really into those big IBU beers, Palate Wrecker from Green Flash, Sculpin, of course, Ruination from Stone. Really into.
I'm a big fan of the
my
Victory at
faves,
Sea
yeah.
series from Ballast Point.
Oh yeah. So yeah, really into the big IBU West Coast beers. Did not drink stouts, did not drink sours, was just a pure San Diego IPA hophead.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's how I got
Well
into it. That's my intro to beer.
That's my story is similar, except I was already in my 40s. Around that same time, drinking the Ruination and Green Flash. What's the Green Flash status? I don't want to interrupt the story, but are they still around?
They're still around. I think Alpine is keeping them above water. I don't know if you know, they're some kind of business deal. They're connected with Alpine Beer Company.
Okay.
Alpine is it's either a city or a county in East San Diego, and they have one of the best breweries. For the longest time, Alpine had the trademark on Nelson hops. And so until this deal worked out with Green Flash, other breweries couldn't have Nelson hops, as far as my understanding goes. Someone will probably correct me. But yeah, so once that deal went through, Nelson hops became available. But yeah, one of Alpine's bigger beers is Nelson, something like that, Mount Nelson or Nelson. It's really good beer, solid West Coast Nelson IPA. And so Green Flash, they're still around, I think. I haven't been there in a few years.
Yeah, they're just not on the radar. I loved them. I had this one time I had Pliny the Elder. This is a few years ago, 2011, 2012. And I was like, well, that's really great, because obviously people are like, oh, that's the best beer that ever existed. And you're like, no, it's really good. And then like the next day I was like, well, what's in the fridge? Oh, it's a Green Flash double IPA. And I was just like, this is better than the Pliny.
Yeah,
And now I'm like, what happened to Green Flash? I haven't seen them in so long. Yeah. All right, I took you off your track there. I'm sorry. We get back to the.
Oh no, you're good.
Don't do it.
Let's see here. So yeah, and then as I got older, I think it was just some random birthday. My family all pitched in and bought me a homebrewing kit, and
nice.
It was all downhill from there. I was brewing 1 gallon batches for a few months, and then I jumped into 5 gallon batches, and then my father-in-law. He's somewhat of an engineer. He put together an electric 15 gallon kettle. So now we're on a 15 gallon fully electric setup.
That's nice.
Yeah, we do maybe 10 brews a year. I wish it was more, but what can you say?
Where do these brews get to?
Where do they get to? My stomach, eventually the toilet. But I give out cans. So, the pipe dream.
So you can them yourself.
Yeah. He's got I think it's called an October canning machine. Did not start that way. We were just bottling them for a while, and now we have our own draft system. So we keg our beer now. It goes from the keg to the can to the gut.
Wow, it sounds like you already have the brewery without the business model, I guess, or the
infrastructure. Yeah,
infrastructure.
Did your Cicerone status happen as a result of the homebrewing? Did you pursue that?
Yeah, I have had such an up and down with my careers, in between jobs and whatnot. So I should
interrupt myself a little for saying, anyone who's listening who hasn't already, I don't know if we've covered this on the show before. If you don't know what a Cicerone is, it's sort of the beer version of a sommelier. It's someone who is a certified expert in beer. And okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
Pinky's up. Pinky's up.
Just in case we're talking about things, we try and keep things. Not to the point where we're completely just talking about as if everyone knows everything. So please, I'm sorry. Go back.
In between jobs one time, and I was looking at getting a job as a beer server, and out west, at least, a lot of these tap rooms, they kind of want you to go through the Cicerone program before you get hired as a beer server.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
So I got my certification, and I'm also trying to get in through the beer judge certification program, BJCP, as well. Start judging competitions.
Nice.
Very cool.
Lots of studying, but I have a degree in
drinking,
zoology.
I assume. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of drinking.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's the next part of my journey is I wound up going up north to Humboldt County. You've probably heard of Humboldt County and what was it, MSNBC's Pot City, USA, Murder Mountain.
The Green Triangle.
Green Triangle, smoking weed, trimming weed. And so that's where I went to school. And I actually graduated despite all that. And there's some really niche little breweries up there. Lost Coast Brewing, little shout out. Redwood Curtain.
They make the Rasputin.
Eel River. Yeah, lots of
I
great
love Old
breweries.
Rasputin.
Mhm.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's North
Is
Coast.
Old
I'm sorry.
That's North
right.
Coast. They're in Mendocino County, but it's,
Okay, but I love the Old Rasputin beer, one of my very favorites.
Dude, not many people realize, but San Francisco is not Northern California.
Right.
You still have 6 hours to drive north before you hit Oregon. So there's like a lot of forest out there. And
Beautiful.
Humboldt County is just tucked away on the coast in the redwoods.
Nice.
Yeah.
I went to the Lost Coast once, not the brewery, but the area. And
Yeah.
it's just downright magical.
It's crazy out there. It's beautiful.
And
It's
there's
beautiful
a
wilderness.
national trail, right? That goes on the coast. You actually walk part of it on the beach, and people camp and everything.
Yeah, you have to camp because the way the tide works, there's certain parts that's impassable. So there's like an alcove where you have to make your goal on the first day, hike to that little spot on the beach where the tide doesn't rise.
Right.
And everyone camps out there. And then once the tide goes down, you can hike out the rest of the trail. But yeah, the tide blocks the path for part of the day.
Yeah, it's like an Appalachian Trail, but on the Pacific coast. Yeah, it's something else.
Exactly. So drank a lot of beers up there. Good friend up there. Was a homebrewing partner for several years. He's already a BJCP. Judges a lot of competitions. And then let's see here. So after college, I wound up in the Bay Area. And I remember the first time I heard of like a hazy IPA, heady topper. And I was like so frustrated. Like, what the hell is this hazy IPA? No hop bitterness, all aroma. And I had one and the game changed. And I have not been the same since. And if you ask any of my friends, they'll be like, oh yeah, all he drank was hops. And then one day some kind of switch flipped and I was on to pastry stouts and barrel aged stouts. And yeah.
And how do we feel about like a West Coast now?
It's
I know there's a lot of them still being made out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a welcome change when I have them.
And then still breweries are still making great ones. I think Pliny is still that West Coast style. I had one of the younger. Again in 2019, I had one, and I was like,
yeah. I missed out on that sale this year. Bummed.
Yeah, my uncle, my wife's uncle went online because you have to get online to get Pliny the Younger. If you guys don't know, this is like super rare, and this year you had to get on the list to get it shipped to you or to pick it up or just to have the right to even look at it. And apparently every they said 10 a.m. we'll start taking calls, and it was or emails, and it was at 10:02. It was over.
It was over.
Yeah. And, like everybody called the exact same moment, and it just ended. The sale ended immediately.
Yeah, probably should have done a lottery.
Yeah, and they do that in the past. They have a lottery to have the right to buy it.
Yeah.
Right.
I had gone and sat in line every year for the last 3 or 4 years, and it was a bummer to not have it this year, but oh well, what can you do? Hopefully someone got to try it for the first time.
And those lines, was it like, do you do line shares and the whole deal? And
well, yeah, I mean, shoot. The first few years I was still new to the community, and I wasn't outgoing enough. I'm on the autism spectrum actually. And so my social skills aren't too on par when I'm in person. And so I didn't do the shares, but yeah, last year, big share, got there probably at 4 a.m. It was 30 degrees out, freaking cold. People brought heaters and sleeping bags and beer and just drank until they opened.
That'll keep you warm.
Yeah, it warmed me up for sure.
Most definitely.
All right. Well, keep talking, gents. I got to take a trip to the fridge.
Oh dear. Oh,
First one out.
I know.
And
Well, hey,
we did. Oh, go ahead. Beer.
no. I was just excited that we're gonna get a second pour already from Huck.
But just piggybacking a little on the whole home brewing situation. So Beer Wonder is in the midst of doing some home brewing right now. His very first batch ever. Phil, do you have any tips for him?
Well, I'm a germaphobe, and having gone through a zoology degree, we had to take a lot of microbiology and bacteriology. And as I was first starting out, I was like super anal about microbes and my sanitation, but really everything pre-boil, don't stress. Like everything pre-boil, you can just relax actually, because the boiling kills all your microbes. If you have bad sanitation, like obviously clean, right? Have clean stuff. But if it's not spectacular, the boil will finish everything off. What style are you going for? What are you brewing?
I'm working on an amber ale right now. Figured it would be a good starter. I used a syrup. I haven't gone to the whole grain situation, and it's just a Vermonster that's sort of doing its thing in the corner. We're a little over a week in, so I've probably got a couple more days. I think it's this coming Sunday. I'll go through the bottling process and see what that looks like.
Don't burst your bottles. That's a trick.
Yes, that's the part that I'm mildly. I mean, so far we haven't had too much. We haven't had huge incidents. I've noticed there's been a tiny bit of spillover out of the release cap on the top, but other than that, it seems to be doing okay. I feel like the next step is where I can really screw it up, and where all your little microbe guys can get in. Right?
Yeah. My first homebrew competition, I had to bottle the beer to submit. And it had been 2 or 3 years that I was on the keg system, and I just don't mess with bottling. When you have a keg, you don't bottle it. Sure. And so having to like relearn how to bottle beer and submit it, I was stressing out. And it turns out I didn't do well in the competition because my beers gushed. They opened them and they just started gushing. I'm like, oh. So yeah, it's a trick. Out here on the West Coast, the heat, a lot of the times you got to watch your heat and your sugar.
Yeah. Well,
just go for it.
So if you're kegging, do you have, I mean, I know, the joy of homebrewing is that you can kind of experiment and create your own recipes, but do you have kind of a standard? Is there a specific recipe that you're known for, one that you're particularly proud of?
I've been trying to dial in my hazy IPAs. That's been a big one to dial in, but I've brewed everything from lagers and pilsners. I just haven't done a sour, actually. I've never done a sour.
Oh, really?
I want to, but I'm very intimidated by that whole process.
Speaking of microbes, like that one, you got to clean scrub, or just throw it away and start over. And if you've got a electric setup there, that feels like it would be that's a keeper right there.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe a Saison would be easy enough to try. They're not technically sours, but whatever.
They're on the way for sure.
They're on their way, yeah. So I used to actually work at a homebrew store in Sacramento. That was a lot of fun because I got to learn and apply my knowledge. People would come in with questions and I'd have to actually have answers for them. And it was fun. It was a learning process for sure.
Yeah. What is the top question that you get at a homebrew store?
Oh man, so many people would come in. Yeah, right. So many people would come in. My 2 favorite stories, they would either come in looking for corn, and all they would be buying is like milled corn and turbo yeast. And I'm like, milled corn and turbo yeast? Someone's making whiskey. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
And then the other one, people would come in and they would say, hey, my beer's not fermenting. It's been a week. I brewed it. We put the yeast in. Nothing's happening. And you're like, okay, first question. When did you put the yeast in? Well, we finished the boil and we put the yeast in.
Oh, no.
Did you cool the beer? Like, no, we just put it into the boiling beer. Well, you killed your yeast, buddy.
Yes. Be nice to your yeast friends, everyone.
They're diving in like, here we go.
Yeah. So don't kill your yeast.
Very good advice.
Yeah. Another good advice, make a yeast starter. It always helps.
Oh,
It's not too hard. Just a little bit of dried malt extract and some water. Stir it up. Add your yeast once it's cool. Don't forget to add it when it's cool. And then let it sit overnight at room temperature. If you have a stir bar, that's great. Otherwise, you just stir it every now and then. And what happens if you just use a straight pitch is you'll get stressed yeast and you'll wind up in weird off flavors, diacetyl or dimethyl sulfides. You don't want cabbage tastes. You don't want rubber tastes. So that was a big step for me in homebrewing, was learning to make a yeast starter.
that's a good beer name, Rubber Cabbage.
Yeah, right.
Rubber cabbage.
Well, I got a new beer.
Yeah.
I actually have I've been living the lager life, like I said, and I always
Cheers.
get the same breweries, but we got a new brewery today. I was able to get up to Kingston, New York, so we have the Kingston Standard El Dorado hopped lager. Now,
That's
if you
very
notice
pretty.
this can, you can tell
Yeah.
it's a 12-ounce.
Oh, it's
you
a
know,
little guy.
That's a red flag. You're like, wait a minute, 12-ounce can, what's happening here? But beautiful little tap room, really nice place. And the other thing that got me was that they charged 16-ounce prices. So I was like,
okay.
must be good.
Yeah.
So
I had the Hellas and I liked it, so we'll try this.
I believe I actually went to a bachelor party up there once. So this was many years ago.
Yep.
Ooh, and so it's got the little glass, the pony glass too. Oh, nice clear one.
Yep.
Really,
Nice.
really
Yeah,
nice.
pouring like a pills.
Mm-hmm. Real
Very
thin, good head on that one.
Yeah. Oh, I got to do my photo op.
Yes, beautiful. Oh, and cheers to the pony. Excited to get back to you.
Yeah, this is our
I think-
classic
I think-
bar, Pony Bar.
I think I saw the other day that they say they're not set a date, but they are looking for their reopening soon. I think I saw Mission Dolores was as well. So
I heard that they closed today.
you heard the Pony closed altogether?
No, Mission Dolores.
That's funny. I thought I saw something on Instagram today where they were talking about the reopening.
Oh well,
We'll have to ask the internet.
Brew York has
Yeah.
announced.
You know what? Actually, it does look like it does. I just saw a story. I'm checking with the internets, but it does look like we have lost Mission
another
Dolores.
victim. Yeah,
Oh.
this is one of our beer bars in Brooklyn. Phil, this is a classic place. We've gone to for quite a few years, and it's in that same area where all those breweries are. So I don't know if that was
And
part of it.
they're named after the place at the end of Vertigo.
Mm.
That mission where with the bell tower and all that. Have you guys seen Vertigo?
I've seen it when I was probably a teenager. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
Vertigo,
it's
Rear Window.
near the end of the movie. It's this big thing where there's like nuns and all that, and the name of it was Mission Dolores. I saw it when I was a teenager as well, but I saw it again like 2 or 3 years ago and said, "Oh, that's what it's named after."
Yeah, the bar where I work, by the way, Arts and Crafts Beer Parlor, will be opening on February 25th. So we're getting going.
That's
going.
Nice,
exciting.
dude. Heck yeah.
Is it now? So Huck, does that mean that you are headed back at this point?
I'm headed back mid-March. I'll probably get back. Yeah,
Nice.
Very good.
And
and that's the last time I worked was mid-March.
hey, well, there you go. So a year of joy and laughter.
Joy and solitude.
A quick question about that. Is it both locations? Because I know there's uptown and downtown.
Yeah, both
Yes.
are going to open. Yeah.
Oh, that's it's exciting to hear
Very
that they're going to be back. Excellent selection there. But I know that we were introduced, the Beer Avengers were introduced to you, Phil, by the Pale Male / Hophead Huck. How did you two start forming this West Coast alliance that is?
Yeah.
It's funny. Cider Girl,
Mhm.
I'm married to.
The one and only.
We were at she works for the zoo, and Brew Guy was working for the Sacramento Zoo at the time. And it was up in Seattle, 2017, 2018. 2018. And without a doubt, the most fun conference I've been to. Most fun town. It was just such a blast. Everything we did. And there was beer. Every event we went to was beer. It was it was more of a beer festival. And
Right.
we were at this party at the aquarium, and Cider Girl had connection with Phil. They'd been to a couple of committees together, and we were. I don't even remember the room because I was toasted. I was toasted and roasted. I mean, there was there was beer everywhere, and there was legality, and it was just like, oh, I was on cloud nine. And she comes up, she says, Huck, you got to meet Phil. Phil, this is Huck. You guys like beer.
Yeah. Basically, that was it. That was the
I think
introduction.
Phil was,
That's all you
Phil,
needed.
Phil was a little tipsy as well. I don't want to speak for
Yeah.
you, but I'm like, you know, other half, you know, Monkish, you know, Moxa, you know, it's just like,
Yeah, my eyes were like
you weren't
this.
even
Very
speaking in
cool.
sentences.
Yeah, man, and it just blossomed from there. I mean, I remember I was there for work. Like I had to be there for work. I was working, and
Yes.
I was there for fun.
and yeah, it turned into fun. It did turn into fun in my off hours. We went checked out Holy Mountain, had a little afternoon bro date. That was great.
Oh, awesome.
And at one of the get-togethers, one of the functions, the conference just so happened to be, like we were saying earlier, during Fremont Brewing's release of Dark Star, which is one of their bigger barrel-aged stouts, and the brewery showed up at the zoo with a booth pouring Dark Star before the public was even released to it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, what a treat.
I mean,
and
Cat,
I
you would have
grabbed-
flipped out. I mean, we just kept going
Yeah,
back.
that sounds amazing.
Yep. I went and grabbed Hophead Huck, and I was like, dude, we're going. I got to show you this. And we went, and we got it for sure.
And they have little storks on their logo too. So they fit
Mhm.
right in the zoo. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
So-
Right around the corner, they had oysters. It was a night.
So I need to take a real quick trip down a few steps.
Oh.
I'll be right back up in just a minute. But I think
Because it's going
Yeah.
through the captain's cellar, yeah. Come high water or hell, yeah. It's filled with stouts and porters made with bricks and mortars. Going to the captain's cellar, yeah.
all right. So today I was reorganizing some of the spreadsheets. I think you guys probably saw that I threw that up on our shared thing.
Yes, always helpful to know where we are in the progression.
And one of the things I was doing was because on a spreadsheet I keep track of all the beers we've had and all of our guests and the beers they've had and how many states we've sampled from. Because we're essentially a local show, but we're about all kinds of localities. Most of our beers, about half. I think at least half of them have been from New York. Maybe
Sure.
more than that. Maybe even 2/3.
Yeah.
But they've all been from various local beers. But we like to add our number of states. So I just went through some of the stuff in my cellar and saw, what states we haven't used. And I realized one of them, and I chose this one since we have our guest from the West Coast, to pick one I happen to have in my cellar from Nevada. It's from Revision Brewery
Oh,
in Sparks, Nevada. This is the barrel-aged Drenched in Desire. I think I actually muted myself for a moment. Drenched in Desire.
yes. That one does
The
require a lean in.
the bottle is so big it got in the way of my microphone. It's a big one. It is aged in Woodford Reserve bourbon barrels.
Oh, bless
It's
it.
it's 2020, and it was a 14.8% ABV.
Mm.
You're gonna have a good
Start
evening.
peeling this thing off of here.
You're gonna have a good
You know
evening
what's
with
good?
that.
It's got that wax seal.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hey, adjuncts? I forget. Did it have adjuncts or is it straight barrel?
There's I'm seeing Woodford Reserve barrels, cocoa, coffee, and cherry notes are complemented by hints of oak and almond like something from the bourbon barrels. So I can't tell for sure if they're adjuncts or if
It
these are
sounds
just
like pure,
things that the barrel brings out in it.
right? I think it's just pure barrel. That's nice.
What was the name of the brewery? Revival, you said?
No, Revision.
Revision.
Revision. Okay. Yeah. Well, so the captain's peeling off all that wax there. It looks like so. This is a process beer. This is
It
what you have
certainly
to earn. It looks like, and at what 14%? I feel like it is
14.8. Yeah.
14.8. Yeah. So almost
Gotta
15.
be worth
but then
it.
you earn it.
Now back to this 12 ounce. Like when you get these 12 ounce beers, especially when they're lagers like this, I'm like, it's almost gone. When we're still used to these 16 ounce cans now, when you drink a 12 ounce, it's like, get a little sample.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
good. Nice hoppy lager. It's good.
Now, yeah, this is a
Refreshing.
hoppy lager. Yeah, this has got that really intense hoppy flavor to it.
Too intense, fairly mellow, but yeah, it's actually the right amount. I don't like it when it's too syrupy on the IPLs, you know.
Speaking of 12 ounce and West Coast beers and stouts and adjuncts and cans, Modern Times, they do a lot of stouts in 12 ounce cans. They release barrel aged stouts in 12 ounce cans. It's very interesting. They're like expensive as hell too. There's like upwards of $15 a can. It's insane.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Now it's time for the pour. No boy.
That's like motor oil.
Yeah, that one is just dripping in.
Yeah, it's a can of oil, a bottle of oil.
Glug, 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 glug.
There
Oh
you
man.
I mean, and that's a beautiful one. That's definitely. I'm glad you saved that one for the show.
Yeah,
because that's a
It's caramely head on that. Yeah.
yeah. There's like it was one of the higher end ones that I got from there. I'm really looking forward to it. Oh yeah, that's really nice. It's very very boozy.
Tell us about this beer. Tell us all
This
about
beer
it.
it's like I said, it's a 14.8% and it tastes like it. I can really taste. I mean, Woodford Reserve is one of the best bourbons around there. It's like a real high end bourbon, and it's
Yep.
I mean, it's that sort of that sort of Goose Island, that whole level there, but the Goose Island Bourbon County, but it's a big step up from that. If you think that one is really great, which it really is, this one's better. It's nice. It's not overly sweet. It's got a sweetness, but the sweetness is almost entirely based within the whiskey.
Okay.
So you think it's like a Bourbon County, but a step up. What do you think about that, Phil?
Bourbon County, man, I haven't had too many of the variants. I've had the basic ones for sure. Mm-hmm. Someone at a share, maybe a month ago, a friend of mine brought out a 2014 proposition from Goose Island.
Oh, all right. Well, give us the rundown on that one, Phil.
I know not much about it. I know like people are always giving the 2014 a high recommendation because it was before they got bought out. And so I guess they aged well. Mine was a bit thin, but it was good. It was good.
Sure.
They make, I think if I remember, their barrel aged bourbon stouts. Goose Island picked those up. And so 2014 was one of the last years that they were making them before they got bought out, but they're still solid beers. I really like them.
That's like we featured one a couple weeks ago, on our barley wine episode, and it was it
was a magical experience.
We had a good night on that one, yeah, for sure.
The reason I compare them is because
I still have to get into barley wine.
And the first time I ever tried the, I feel like the Bourbon County was the first 15%er I ever had. So, Phil, are you familiar with Revision?
Yeah, Revision's amazing. Remind me if I'm wrong, but I think they're part of Knee Deep. I think like their old brewmaster went from Knee Deep to Revision, started his own brewery. And up in Nevada, I think Reno is where they're at. Now is Knee, because I've definitely seen Knee Deep. I've had a lot of really good stuff from them.
Yeah.
There's the one they have like the not Stonehenge, but the Easter Island thing on the label, don't they?
Yeah.
Hard to recall for myself. I know that they got in trouble with the AMC for the Breaking Bud, and then I think they did even. Right. I think they did a Star Wars beer. They might have got in trouble with LucasArts too, but I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly.
I just remember some like really good stouts from them. I can't remember the name of it. I think it ended in something Illa.
Okay, hard to remember.
Yeah,
but
Deep
yeah,
is,
I remember
they're one that when I was in my West Coast phase, that was like they were amazing, like the Kings. I first had something like Simtra.
Yeah,
like, what is this beer? I really had it in a glass just like this, like wow! Just so excited
about it. Are they Nevada or are they California?
Reno, Nevada.
Oh, they are.
So
wait.
Also,
Pause.
Time out.
Revision is Reno, and then Knee Deep is Auburn, California. I believe it's in Auburn. It's where Moonraker. It's near where Moonraker is. If you've heard of Moonraker.
So, my question for you is Sparks a suburb of Reno? Okay. So the only reason I asked is because the place I ordered it said Sparks, Nevada. So I'm wondering if like Sparks is part of the greater Reno metropolitan area.
It must be. I don't get to Nevada often.
That's
Tahoe.
That's where Snoopy's cousin lived. Remember he had that evil twin character? He came from Sparks, Nevada.
But
Well, I guess I dated myself on that one. Boy,
No, I remember.
about your Charlie Brown references. It was a cartoon
yeah,
called Peanuts. Maybe you guys
his name
heard
was
of it.
Spike, right? His name was Spike.
Thank you, Spike.
Yeah,
Spike.
yeah.
Well, and didn't Peanuts just get on one of the streaming services? Didn't someone just pick up a bunch of old Peanuts cartoons?
Apple.
Apple,
Yeah.
With
there
the
we go,
adults
that's-
talking, all I hear is wow, 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 wow,
Right.
wow, wow.
But Beer Wonder, there was a time when there were these things called newspapers, and they had these things called comic strips in them.
What is this? I'm so sorry, Captain.
And so those of us who sometimes, when we talk about Peanuts, even though we enjoyed the specials, we also remember seeing them in the what we called the funny papers.
I don't know.
You've even heard the expression "see in the funny papers." That's what that's a
Well,
reference.
Monkish, they just did a beer release with Calvin and Hobbes art, and it's was called Funny Papers.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I didn't
Perfect.
get that one.
Well, now, yeah, it was because it was one of those things where if you're looking at the pretending like you're smart, you read a newspaper, you're actually just reading the page that's all cartoons, and that's the funny papers.
Yeah.
Well, Huck,
Yeah, this
now that you're a big deal on TikTok, you may need to share this with the Gen Z
Yes.
organization.
Got to teach the kids.
Teach the
you have to do
kiddos.
your old man voice for that.
When I was TikToking, you didn't have all these voiceovers and you're doing the lip syncing. That's not real internet theater.
None of that malarkey, Jack.
Okay, that was it.
None
That
of
was
that
it.
flam flam.
That was I moved.
Actually,
Yeah,
it was actually all lip syncing from the beginning. I'm the one who's trying to change that.
I feel like we
Dynamic.
talked so much about it. I didn't really say much about the profile of the beer, though. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that. It's one of those like long sipping beers. This is a big bottle, and it's going to be taking me a while because it's just like sip and savor and really take in that
Yeah.
great booziness. It's like it's like that same kind of Bourbon County thing, but to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
That
Very
sounds
good.
beautiful.
And I know that we wanted to talk a bit about our weekend beer. Is that not
Oh,
right? Beer
Yeah.
Wonder?
Well, I had a group that has actually been on my radar for a bit, but I wanted to give a really great shout out to them. So there's a group called the Beer Fairies, and they spelled that Fairies. And they're out of Montgomery County in Maryland. And so they have been doing, as a way to both support their local beer scene, as well as support some of the first responders in the area that have been working so hard during all of this, they're doing sponsored beer drops. So not only are they encouraging people to go to their local brewery, pick up a 4 or 6 pack, and then drop it at their local place with a note and a little fairy note and sort of not reveal your secret identity, but they're also offering the opportunity to sponsor a drop for Montgomery County first responders. And I thought it was a really cool project. It's a
really
husband
cool,
and wife
yeah.
team that have been doing this. So if you're interested in them, you can just head over to their website, which is Fairies, spelled FAIRIEZ.com. And if you want to sponsor a beer drop, give them some love. Or honestly, just, if you've got a first responder that you'd love to drop a beer at, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
I
And
was
your
just,
local brewery would too.
I was just looking at their Instagram, and they're dropping the good stuff. Too.
I know.
mean, this is like-
I had a chance to have a beer with these folks over the internets, of course,
Okay.
and they had great taste. I
Yeah.
was very excited about what they were doing.
I'm seeing Other Half, Vale, RAR, good
Ooh,
stuff. Hudson
yeah.
Valley here,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh,
Beer
they're-
nerds also supporting their community.
good for
you know,
them.
It's good
That's
stuff.
great. I'll start
So-
following their gram. Yeah.
So
Very
support
cool, very cool.
support the Beer Fairies and become a beer fairy if you want to.
Right.
Excellent.
Bring it to the West Coast.
Yes.
I wanted to mention a couple things. One thing actually, it's not as much my weekend beer, but is the weekend beer. We talked last week about how New York City is now doing indoor dining, and we all have various opinions on whether it should or shouldn't exist. And we know there are many people who are engaging in it in good faith, and others, well, we don't know who's doing what. It's all it's all how it is. But
Using the
there
honor
are,
system.
huh?
It's the honor system.
I think it's beyond the honor system.
Yeah.
Well,
But we had Rick White on a couple weeks ago, and he's not doing it because he doesn't really think it's worth it. Doesn't think we're ready for it. And I saw one this week that I thought was a really good example of a version of that. Was Threes Brewing. They said sorry, we're not doing indoor dining yet. We're waiting until all our employees can get vaccinated. And I thought that was really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Cheers
like
to
that a
that.
lot.
So
I like
cheers
that.
to you.
And
thieves.
if you
Yeah.
are restaurant workers in New York City and you haven't got out and get your vaccination shot, please go do so because it is available to you, no matter what your young age may be.
Yeah, and
Like me.
there's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of like retrying, but yeah, keep doing it. And also keeping up with the restaurant workers. Restaurant Week to go and delivery is still happening through the whole month of February. Every time I go there, there's some new restaurants who've been added to this whole thing. So if you thought that there wasn't anything good in your neighborhood, check that again, where you can get a full meal for $20.21.
Mm-hmm.
And some
Best
really
deal in
nice
town.
options there. Yeah. And I want to. I don't think we should ever go a week without mentioning our good friends at Curtain Up,
Oh, yeah.
who are doing that beer, the hazy IPA, to support the performing arts. The last I saw, it's maybe 55 breweries, 11 states. I think we're really getting to a point where we're going to be able to do a whole show about them. So we will all have a different Curtain Up beer.
Now, I know.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Phil, you're on the road. You're headed, I believe, to Colorado. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to
No
be taking
kidding.
a road trip out to Colorado next Friday.
Any
Fantastic.
Curtain Up beers that you can think of, Captain, that might be out Brewed
I
at
haven't
Fellsway?
seen any West Coast really. I mean, the closest I saw was, I think there was an Idaho brewery, but before we release this episode, I'm gonna look up their website and I'll mention the cold open if I'm wrong. And I will let Phil know, because Phil, you're on our mailing list now, so you'll be able to see what's going on there.
Yeah, I saw in the
Yeah.
story this morning that flagship. They actually
Oh,
had
great.
it at the Whole Foods, the flagship.
Oh,
so-
that's cool.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like a 30-something hour drive from San Diego to Denver, and I don't want to do it in one go by any means.
No.
So I'm going to be stopping in Tucson for a night and Albuquerque for a night, and hope to get to know some of those towns through their beers. I don't know what the COVID restrictions are like, but hoping
I know,
there's some breweries open.
AZ Wilderness is one that's really great.
Yes, I
They're
want to
in-
check them out.
They're in a town somewhere between Phoenix and Tucson.
Okay.
I know
Hopefully I
they
can check
have
them
a
out.
Phoenix tap room, but
Okay.
their original tap room is in a different town. It's I can't remember the name of it, but it's closer to Tucson, I think.
Nice. Yeah, and then once I get to Denver, I mean, that's another beer capital.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Cerebral's holding some, is it Cerebral? Media Noche? Someone's got some Media Noches for me. It's real nice stouts. There's
Get 'em
another
all.
brewery. Yeah, seriously. There's another brewery out there I'm looking forward to seeing, but I forget the name off the top of my head.
Oh,
A lot
that'd
of
be
good
great
breweries
trip.
out there.
You're just
you-
making me nostalgic for being to go outside of Queens, which I haven't done in almost a year now.
Wow.
I went about as far as I could about a year ago, and I have not left since mid-March. So, but the vaccine is as we said, is you guys are on the right track there, and hopefully the rest of us will be able to get it very
Yeah,
soon.
everybody's got to get it. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Very important.
Phil, thank you for being such a wonderful guest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've opened all sorts of different doors and horizons for us with regard to your knowledge and a different West Coast perspective. And come back anytime.
Come back anytime.
Come
Yeah.
back anytime.
Cool. Looking forward to it, guys. I'd love to be here.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well,
And
Huck,
and all the beer vendors out there, just if you have any ideas about what you want to hear on future shows, any comments, complaints, try and steer clear of death threats, but we can take constructive criticism. You can email us at thebeervengers@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can see our full archive at you can see our archive at thebeervengers.com, and you can email us at thebeervengers@gmail.com. Maybe I said that already.
And we're on all the.
This is a
all the-
14.8%er.
we're on
and
all the
also-
important social medias except TikTok. You'll just have to go find Hophead Huck
Right.
there.
Pretty much any of the ones that matter, we're at the Beer Vengers. We're there. You're listening. You know who we are. You can find us and tell your friends and comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks again,
All right.
Phil.
I think Huck is
Thank you.
ready to play us out. Yes. Thanks again, Phil.
Well, we're the beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers.
We're the Beer Vengers.